Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Outsiders.
I'm Todd Pickering.
I'm Seth Austin.
We're a couple of actors stuck on the outside trying to make our way to the inside of the biz.
Hollywood,
Ooh, getting real sexy in the morning.
getting
I can't handle
sexy on a
that.
Sunday morning, Todd. What can I say?
I can't
That's the
handle
mode
that.
that I'm in.
All
Feel
right.
good. I give the old head a shaving, and I feel. You probably can't tell on the camera. Look at that.
I
Is that
got
a scar?
a nick.
Yeah.
I got this ridge here anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah. At
I
any
like
rate,
it.
I
Anyway,
got.
okay. So
No,
before we go
this
into
isn't a
this.
show about shaving, is
This
it?
is not a show about
No.
shaving, although
No.
maybe it should be. No,
Could be.
it
We can
could
add a
be.
segment, but
A
not
lot
for
of
now.
potential there. A lot of potential. So I want to before we go jump into the episode, we wanted to just sort of reiterate the mission statement for this show, more or less, which is that we are here to just offer whatever knowledge we have as a couple of guys who are stuck. You're not stuck, but our goal is to make it more to the inside of Hollywood, right? And we're not there yet, right? We're on the outside looking in, we feel like. And so we've got a lot of knowledge. We've gained a lot of knowledge along the way on our path into the inside of this business. And so we hope to just offer that to anyone who might find it useful, whether they be beginners or not, and thereby help build a sense of community, especially within LA.
Yeah, we got college degrees. We've studied in New York, London, Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Hollywood. Remember, Hollywood's not a place, people. It's
It's a
an
thing.
idea now.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, it is a place, but you know,
I
the
mean, it is a
business is
literal place, but that's
all
not.
over Los Angeles
Yeah.
County,
We've
and
got.
well, and in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
You know, a
Atlanta's
lot of the filming's
huge.
there.
Whatchamacallit, in Louisiana, New Orleans, of course, has become a thing as
Texas,
well. Although I don't think New
and the
Orleans is as
biggest
big
one is
anymore.
Netflix just built a studios, I think, in New Mexico.
Oh, is that right? I didn't hear about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah.
We've got theater degree, or I've got a theater degree. Todd's
too.
background is a lot of theater. We've both done classical theater. We've both done some film and TV. So that's sort of where we're coming from.
And last
And
episode, if you didn't listen to it,
why didn't you listen to it? But in case you didn't listen to it, Todd challenged me to take the Hollywood Reporter's top 100 movies of all time and then sort of narrow it down to my top 10. And then he was going to do a top 10. And that was going to kind of be the basis for our current show, the one we're doing right now.
it will be. Last episode, we wrote down the top 10 list from the Hollywood Reporter. That was the second most Googled list. And the first one was Rotten Tomatoes, and they had Black Panther as the number one movie. So they had some algorithm about with their followers' critiques and whatnot.
We don't want to
Hollywood
base
Reporters
ours on an algorithm. We want to do ours based on like human beings, right? Because what does an algorithm really tell you other than like box office sales?
Well, and Hollywood Reporters was based on, I didn't look at my notes on this, but what did it say? Producers,
directors,
actors, and TV royalty.
TV royalty,
which we don't know what that means at all. That seems
I haven't looked that
nebulous.
up
All
yet.
right.
This is, first of all, I want to preface this by saying I never make top tens. It's not my thing. Like when I did this, I kind of just had to do it and not think too hard about it because I'm an overthinker. And once I get into that zone, I'm like, well, does it really belong at number 10? What's my real number one? Although I do know my real number one. That I do know. That I can
Well,
say.
again, we'll talk about why we chose these later. And again,
Yeah.
these are all ridiculous. They're fun to look at and see if you agree or disagree with them.
So my number 10 is Goodfellas.
No talking about them, right?
No talking about them. My number 9 is The Wizard of Oz. My number 8 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. My number 7 is Dr. Strangelove. My number 6 is All About Eve. My number 5 is Braveheart. My number 4 is Groundhog Day. My number 3 is The Big Lebowski. And my number, actually, this is my number 1. I screwed up this list already, but my number 1 is absolutely Back to the Future.
Whoa.
Did I Should I
That
count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Yeah, I screwed something up in there. But anyway, that's
one,
where
two,
we are.
three, four, five,
Yeah.
six, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you screwed one up.
I think I forgot It's a Wonderful Life, which would
Yeah,
be
where'd you put that?
Oh, I put that at number 7. Yeah.
10, 9, 8. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
I only did, okay, I'm just going to say this and then I guess I'll do mine, right? Before we start the discussion. I only disagree with one.
Okay, interesting.
I believe 9 of those could be in the top 10 list.
I feel like I missed your reaction to Back to the Future, and I cut it off.
I tried to say, well, you know, if you're listening to this only, you just said to read them, and then we'll talk. So
and then we're gonna talk. Yep.
10, Annie Hall. 9, A Clockwork Orange. 8, Citizen Kane. 7, West Side Story. 6, Some Like It Hot. 5, Our Only Agreement, All About Eve.
Interesting. Our Only Agreement.
Very interesting. 4, The Graduate. 3, Psycho. 2, Godfather. And I think our number ones are crazy controversial. Everybody's just gonna, if people are listening by this podcast, man,
I can't wait to hear it.
Just gonna be like, what is wrong with you two? I think we're good. I think we're good with the total freakazoids. Number 1, Young Frankenstein.
Whoa. All right. Wow.
You put Back to the Future for number 1 over Godfather. I have a problem with this podcast.
I know. We're going to hate each other by the end of this.
So I agree with, and actually the one I don't agree with is I wouldn't have put Back to the Future in that top 10 list.
That's so interesting. Yeah, Back to the Future.
You put it number 1.
So I want to talk about that first.
Okay,
because,
go. I want to hear.
So when I was a kid, I loved that movie. I mean, I loved Back to the Future when I was a kid. I have, strong. It was one of the first movies I ever saw in the theater, and I have very strong memories of seeing it in the theater. And then I hadn't seen it in a very long time, like not in a very long time. And I watched it when I was like 26 or something like that, and I fully expected it not to hold up. Because not every movie does, right? Sure. A lot of movies you see when you're younger, you just, and so I was aware of that. And I was like, well, I was prepared for the worst kind of. I was like, I'm not going to like this movie at all. Not only did I like it, I liked it more than when I was a kid. And to me, like any movie that can do that, that can enthrall me more so than when I first watched it, I was like, this is, and it's a part of it is the nostalgia for me, of course. A lot of movies like that are in my top 10 are they're my personals because they're not only great films, but there's nostalgia there for me. There's the joy I had when I first watched it, you know what I mean? And the role it played in my life at the time when I watched it, where I was at in my formative years and all that kind of stuff. So I have to fully acknowledge that and recognize that. And of course there's nothing wrong with that. But
so I have to ask you a question then now. So how did you do your top 10 list? You've already told me, you haven't told told them on the air. How did you do it?
Well, I went through the list and I wrote down all the ones that could be in my top 10, and that came to like 25 or something, right?
Okay.
And then I went through it, those 25, and I narrowed it down again. And you know what I did? I Marie Kondoed it. I was like, does this movie spark joy? And I depending on how much joy it sparked, that's where it ended up, in the final top 10. And I was, I have to say this as well, that Citizen Kane was actually tied at the bottom for me. My bottom 3 were tough: Goodfellas, Wizard of Oz, and Citizen Kane.
What were your? Oh, and by the way, shoot, we should have done that. Where is it? I think I've got the paper right here. Quickly, everybody, in case you haven't heard the last episode, we're just going to give you this. This is their top 10 list. The Hollywood Reporters was number 10, Schindler's List, working down, of course. Number 9, 2001: Space Odyssey. 8, E.T. 7, Godfather Part 2. 6, Casablanca. 5, Pulp Fiction. 4, Shawshank Redemption. 3, Citizen Kane. 2, Wizard of Oz. And 1, The Godfather. Nobody can argue with that list, except for my only problem was E.T. possibly.
And mine was Shawshank Redemption. But.
Yeah, that too. I could argue with those two easily. Yeah. I could kick those. I mean, those other 8 movies are kind of untouchable. Absolutely.
Yeah. Agree.
So then are you saying some of your list was personal? They're like totally Seth, like you aren't trying to tell people.
Oh, 100%. I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, some of them not so much. Like All About Eve, like if you're an actor, you have to watch the performances in All About Eve. It's I mean, for them to pull, like, especially that era where that sort of style of acting wasn't quite as, you know, it hadn't really taken hold, the more but it edges on that like realistic, naturalistic, you know, style of acting. You know, and just, I mean, it's the way it's shot is more old school, but it still manages to be so captivating. I didn't see that until I was a full grown adult, you know, and I was
Sure.
so incredibly blown away by that film. So that's not necessarily, you know, the old nostalgia personally. That's more just from like an acting standpoint, how much I love that and
Well,
what it achieved.
okay. So speaking educationally speaking, I took it to be my responsibility
Uh-huh.
to make a top 10 list of a balanced list of
Gotcha.
movies.
Yeah.
Of course, my influence was in there.
See,
I also felt like, I want to say, so I also, if you notice my top 10 list, I tried to get genres in there. They did have Disney movies in the top 100 movies. They had, here's their list: Up, Toy Story, Mary Poppins, Wall-E, Beauty and the Beast, the first animated movie ever nominated for Best Picture.
That was in my top 25, by the way, Beauty and the Beast. Love that movie.
Not mine. And Up. Well, I just felt like animated movies were a second category. I mean, I could have, if I wanted to put one of those in there, I could have.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I just kind of
I
felt,
don't agree with that it's another category, because I think they can be just as moving as any film. But I get it. I disagree, but I understand
disagree with what?
that they should be a separate category.
No. In my top 10 list,
Uh-huh.
the only thing I left out was an animated movie. See,
Oh,
so I've got,
I see. When you're hitting all the genres, yeah.
right. I put Annie Hall up there, which I don't think has stood the test of time. That's why it's number 10 as well. But that's Woody Allen. I put, you know, Citizen Kane, Orson Welles, West Side Story musical, Graduate, the movies that sort of changed the whole way film was made. Psycho is, you know, Hitchcock. There was a bunch of Hitchcock movies. I think there was 4.
There's a lot.
I mean, you know, so, and I put, yeah. So, you know, and Godfather, All About Eve, I agree with everything you said about that movie. Also, you know, a movie starring women, about women.
So groundbreaking from that perspective as well. Absolutely.
Well, okay, I'm, you know, what the fuck do I know? But women used to open movies, so it really kind of wasn't groundbreaking. Men would go see what this chick flick crap got invented, like in the, you know, when the women's, after the 70s and the women's movement, all of a sudden it wasn't cool to see movies with women in it, about women. And why would you call that a chick flick? Women are half the population. They're human beings. Those are movies about human beings.
Right.
So back when All About Eve came out, you know, grown men were like, oh, Betty Davis is in a picture. She's great. We got to go see a Betty Davis picture. She's won 2 Oscars. She's fantastic. Honey,
So
let's go to see a Betty Davis picture.
Yeah, right. It makes total sense. And that's kind of beautiful. Yeah.
I just heard recently Gina Davis talking about Thelma and Louise. And, you know, in the 80s saying women can't open a movie. It's just like, that just turns my stomach. Yeah, that was the number 1 movie of the year. And Hollywood said they were going to make movies about women, for women, starring women. Yeah. Which I disagree with, for women. Like, how about make movies for people?
Yeah.
You know? But at any rate, it didn't happen. And that's what Gina Davis said. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen in what sense? What do you mean?
They didn't make movies starring women. They didn't, even though that was the number 1 movie of the year, starring Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis. Box office, which is, you know, money.
It didn't work, did it? Yeah, they stopped doing it after that for a long time.
Yeah, it was going to change. You know, now we're still talking, finally, women filmmakers and all that good stuff.
I mean, the 80s, I mean, I don't know if this is too broad a statement, but if you look at that list, like, are there a lot of movies from the 80s on even that top 100? I don't think there's any in my top 10.
Oh, so I've got my also ran list. Do you?
Yes, I do have my also.
So I have my also rans from the Hollywood Reporter. Now remember, Seth and I were not allowed to use anything but these 100.
Right, that's what we're pulling from.
My also rans were Princess Bride, Bonnie and Clyde, Sunset Boulevard, and Pulp Fiction, which was in their top 10 list.
Okay, I have a lot of also rans. I'll just go through them very quickly. Inception, Amadeus, Beauty and the Beast, On the Waterfront, Ghostbusters, Brokeback Mountain, Avatar, Lion King, Mary Poppins, Titanic, Toy Story, Fight Club, When Harry Met Sally, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Fargo, Chinatown. Oh man, Chinatown, that was a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible.
Yes, Star Wars and The Godfather.
Yeah, Godfather should be on that list, Seth. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Here's the thing about that film. I recognize its brilliance and all of that. For me personally, again, this was for my personal stuff. For me, I love that movie because of Al Pacino's performance. Like beyond that, it doesn't strike a chord with me. And then, you know what I mean? And that's not the whole movie. There's a lot more to that movie than just Al Pacino's performance, but that is why I watched that movie. You know what I mean? And so
the only thing I would disagree with that is just jumping in is I think all the performances are great. Now,
I'm not saying that they're not
favorite.
I'm not saying that they're not brilliant. And I'm just saying that for me, for my like whole Marie, does it spark joy? That for me about that movie is what I find so incredibly captivating. But because of that, I didn't feel like it deserved to be in my top 10 because that for me is like the only thing about it that really gets me to watch it again. Like I get that it's a great movie, and honestly, it's probably one of Diane Keaton's, or if not, that's probably her best performance ever. Annie Hall also being very good.
Waiting for Mr. Goodbar.
You know, I never saw.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I don't know the name. It's real. Again, it goes in the accused, 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
Hard to watch movie. Like that's a movie I don't ever really want to see again.
Yeah.
Once is enough. But yeah. So that jumps onto the talking about Godfather when I'm talking about a top 10 list, because there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Because I have my favorites too. And I want to say that, yeah, watching The Godfather for some people because of violence and the intensity, yeah, it doesn't end up on your top 10 list, but you do need to see that motion picture if you're a human being.
Yeah.
If you're a human being, you don't ever need to see it again. And you need to see Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it being on a top 10 list.
Oh, no.
I left it off because I'm this goes back to my education background. These are the movies I think you should see. And
yeah. No, if I had done that, it would have taken me twice as long to make this list. I was going with my gut because I knew that I would overthink it. And I was like, no, these are just my personal.
So what are your movies that were left off of Hollywood Reporter's top 100 list?
Let's see. Again, this is personal stuff, but
but do you have it handy?
Yeah, no, I don't have it handy, but I can rattle it off. Mad Max Fury Road. That film is just. I just read an oral history. Oral history of Mad Max Fury Road. That film is
the original.
Insane. No, not the original. Mad Max Fury Road, the newest one.
Yep.
With Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. That movie is insane. I mean, how that movie was made, the stunts, everything about that movie.
Old school.
And then it's old school, and the story, right? All the stunts are practical. All the effects are practical, and it took them forever. There was a million problems, and it just came out. The finished product is beautiful, and women-centered, and just an incredible film.
Okay, giving you shit right and left, right? I'm gonna have to go here and totally defend my co-host. He is 100% correct on that film. That to do a film with filmmaking techniques, with practical stunts, was very, very little to no CGI. Amazing filmmaking.
Yeah,
I have to agree with that. Is it the greatest movie ever made? Probably not, as far as story and all that stuff. But it's beautiful. You have to see it.
Honestly, it's maybe the best film made in the last 20 years. Like, it's one of them anyway.
Because it's a film.
Yeah, if you could, like, if I'm thinking about it, like, what in the last 20 years beats out that movie? Like, I don't think I can think of one off the top of my head. Anyway,
Tarantino does a lot of,
Tarantino does incredible stuff, but I don't think Tarantino has a single one that's better than Mad Max. Like, I love Tarantino. Don't get me wrong. Oh man. Jackie Brown is one of my favorite movies. That's a runner-up for me. That's my favorite Tarantino.
I haven't seen that.
It's the simplest plot of maybe any of his films, but it's kind of it's different. It focuses on Pam Grier's character, and it's sort of like there's a cutesy love story with her character with one of the other main characters. And I saw that movie. Talk about personal stuff. I saw that film, Jackie Brown, right before I moved to Los Angeles. And don't do that. Don't make the mistake I made and watch that movie right before you move to LA, because it does not portray LA in a friendly and welcoming way. It was like, I'm moving to LA. This is what LA is.
Well, that's
like.
Movies are fictional.
Of course. And I told myself that. And ultimately, obviously, it didn't scare me away from moving to LA. I'm just saying that it may not have been the best time for me to watch that particular film.
Correct. It put some images in your head.
That maybe we're better off not there. What else, man? This is another.
Did you finish your list?
No, I didn't finish my list. Another one that's definitely towards the bottom, but that I love is Donnie Darko. That came out like right as I was in college, I think. And that movie, like the sort of sci-fi, I love sci-fi. And that film is like philosophical sci-fi. Like it's a very cool movie. Very much of my generation. Yeah. And then there's other ones that I didn't write down that I was thinking before that I lost, but I feel like I've gone on. So I want to hear some of yours, Todd.
Well, I'll do my list real quick. Well, no, and I'll defend them real quick because, I think this might be a two-parter show. My list is Shakespeare in Love.
Okay.
Because Stoppard's a genius, playwright, and then one of the greatest theories ever of how Shakespeare wrote his plays. I mean, just great theory, great for history, great actors in it. Philadelphia Story is my all-time favorite personal movie. That would be one of my top three. Katharine Hepburn, Jimmy Stewart won the Oscar, and Cary Grant. I could watch that. It's a feel-good movie. Network, I can't believe didn't make the top 100.
I never saw Network. I never saw it.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Yeah. One of the top 10 lines in any movie.
Yeah.
Tootsie is one of my all-time feel-good movies.
Yeah, that should be in there.
Is just like, again, almost a perfectly made movie and comedy. Yeah. And I think Dustin Hoffman could turn in his 2 Academy Awards and take it for Tootsie. Sad, he should have won for Tootsie. Yeah. Played a man and a woman convincingly.
That's the Oscars,
which
right?
Goes into my favorite Woody Allen picture, Another Woman, with Jenna Rollins.
I never saw Another Woman, man.
I've seen that 10 times.
Yeah.
And it's a drama.
Yeah, Woody Allen.
And for those of you that can't stand Woody Allen as an actor, he's not in it.
Right. I also recommend Match Point. If you don't like Woody Allen as an actor, I love that movie, Match Point.
Match Point's great. If you want to watch the adult version of Match Point, you can also watch Woody Allen's, oh my God, I forgot the name of the movie. He just remade his own movie.
Did he really?
Martin Landau and what's, oh my gosh. See, this is what doing a live show and not using the Googles.
Oh man, Bullets Over Broadway is something that could easily make my also rants. Bullets Over Broadway is one of the best movies ever. That film, it's probably Woody Allen. It's probably my favorite Woody Allen. I have to correct
comedy wise.
Yeah.
And I could do a whole episode on Woody Allen. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
I never saw that one either.
You can watch that movie. I've watched it 10 times, still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good. The play is brilliant and, yada, yada, yada. But, Elizabeth Taylor won the Oscar and, Elizabeth Taylor has 2 Oscars, one of the most undeserving Oscars and one of the most deserving Oscars, It's
interesting.
Butterfield 8 is not one of her greatest movies. That was the first Oscar-winning performance I watched and went, what?
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to look at Elizabeth Taylor? Was she great in Butterfield 8? Yeah, but really? Out of all of her performances?
Yeah. I mean, you find that a lot in the Oscars because of the politics involved and stuff, right? I mean,
there's another story. So, I'm sure people are listening to this right now, Seth, and going, so great. They read their top 10 lists, and except for like the only one we've discussed to speak of, I mean, I guess Annie Hall, I went up on that topic, but my Annie Hall number 10, and we discussed Seth's number 1, which was, why he chose all my papers here, Back to the Future. Yeah. And we have to get the name. Maybe I will Google because everybody will go crazy that's listening to this Woody Allen's movie.
Oh yeah. All 5 listeners are going to go out of their minds.
Well, what if somebody, okay, here's my thing, Seth. What if somebody's in their car right now and I can see it all. And we mentioned, I think 40 pictures in less than a half an hour So you want to talk about digression where you're like, great, they just mentioned a bunch of pictures, but talked about none of them. And I can't search.
Did you have Stanley Kubrick in your top 10, Todd? You had Clockwork Orange.
Okay. I did.
Clockwork Orange. Yeah.
See, that's the thing.
Is.
Like,
yeah.
Okay, here's something else I noticed. Betty Davis, All About Eve. Katharine Hepburn's won 4 Oscars. Not one Katharine Hepburn film that I noticed was in the top 100.
That's interesting.
So when you're going to do these lists, you're like, that's kind of what I did. Like I was Crimes and Misdemeanors is the name of the Woody Allen film.
Yeah.
That he kind of made match point with young people and sexy. It's, and it's kind of like, ow, that's kind of derivative, of himself.
Of himself. That's interesting.
Like, why not? Why not remake your own picture? And it's not a perfect remake, but it's the exact same themes, but with young people.
Right.
So.
Right. And I love that film just for the chemistry between Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Scarlett Johansson. I think that the casting of that, talk about good casting, they're incredible. Their on-screen chemistry is just insane. That first shot when they see each other across the table, I mean, my panties dropped. It was insane.
So you heard it here, everybody. Seth wears panties.
Yeah, that's a topic for another show. So Todd, I wanted to talk about, we each have a Stanley Kubrick in our top 10, mine being Dr. Strangelove, yours being Clockwork Orange. So I'd love to talk about like those two films against each other.
Yeah, but maybe not today, Seth.
Are we at time?
Yeah. See, we digressed way too much.
Way too much. We're going to try not to do that next time.
Oh, let's not do that. I apologize. I mean, we probably should have stuck with our top list and done it the other way around, but
but the panties topic was just, we couldn't not touch on that. So
we didn't talk about that. But what we did talk about too long though was all of our also rans and how we made the list.
Yeah.
And we had this was part of our evil plan to make you listen to the next episode.
You got to listen to the next one, guys.
Or we've lost people.
Or people are just dropping like flies. Okay.
No,
so we're
going
to
wrap it up.
to
topic.
Have a great week, everyone. We'll talk to you next time, and we are going to stay on topic. Bye-bye.